Obviously we're excited. I know the guys are excited to play tomorrow. This time of year, coaches love practice. I've always told you that. Players like games. And we've had a week in between the games. Kind of recapping last Wednesday night's game, I thought it was maybe as complete a performance that we've had in a while in terms of both sides of the ball, both ends of the floor. I thought we were really consistent. Obviously, we did a great job closing, taking care of the ball, getting stops, executing, press offense there at the end of the game. They pressed us for 40 minutes. We had 11 turnovers in the game, but we had none in the last 34. So we did a lot of things well. I thought defensively our group was really locked in. I think you see individual players making some progress and getting better. So all those things were good. We really utilized this week off in two separate two-day increments. The first 2 days was total focus on our team, regardless of opponent, and getting better in some areas that we wanted to address. I thought that we were able to do that. Then we took Sunday off, and then obviously yesterday and today will be total focus on a Nebraska team who's certainly one of the hottest teams in our league, having won 7 of 8, won 5 in a row. It's unique in that we played them. We've only played 2 games since we played them last, so familiarity certainly helps in preparation for the game. But at the end of the day, players make plays this time of year. I think toughness prevails a lot. Who is able to impose their will? What guys are still wanting to play this time of year? How badly do you want it? How hard you going to fight? Obviously, they've, you watch them on film and they've got it going right now, at both ends of the floor and playing as good as they've played. So it'll be a great challenge. But again, I think our guys are looking forward to getting back to the games and getting outside of the practice environment or realm that we've had here the last few days. So, we'll just continue to keep getting better. I do think we've improved a lot throughout the month in a lot of areas. Certainly sometimes we've seen the results we've wanted, others we haven't, but I think we've really improved, and not only collectively but also individually. Questions?
You talk about Kendrick and what this last month has meant for him and your expectations for him now.
Yeah, the question was regarding Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick continues to get better. Again, I certainly don't mean to wear out my statement out that I keep using with him, but it's so true. He has amnesia in terms of what happened on the last play. That allows him to have the humility, if it was a successful last play, to get to the next play and get done what's required of him. It also gives him the ability to get past maybe a bad play and get on to that next play. He has a high degree of mental toughness for a freshman. Right up there with among the best in that area that I've ever coached, and I think that's what's allowed him to continue to improve. Obviously, he's improved rapidly over the last month, both defensively and offensively.
He seems streaky at times, but
sure,
that can be a good thing. Just what have you seen from his shooting?
Well, we've just welcomed it, obviously. Our defense has been really solid the majority of the year. We've talked about that a lot. Our rebounding certainly has been competitive. For the most part, we've taken care of the ball at a pretty high level. We've made our free throws at a high percentage. We've done some of the little things that you want to do that I think make your team consistently successful. The one area has been shooting and some scoring punch. And obviously, when he makes 5 threes at Minnesota or 4 threes at Penn State, that's a big deal for any team, but a big deal for our team. So, we're glad that he stepped up and has made some shots here recently.
Talk about the position that Rayvonte Rice is in right now. What kind of evaluate his season and where he is right now going into the final?
Well, obviously the biggest thing with Ray is just continuing to tell him to take care of his body. And it's late February, Lauren, and we've in a lot of cases we've rode him like a horse. What he does for our team from a rebounding perspective, from a defensive perspective, from a scoring perspective, the amount of minutes that he's played. I do think the great thing for him is we've got some other guys that are starting to grow and develop and come a little bit further along. So that certainly has taken a lot of pressure off of him. A lot of defenses have been geared towards him. Now that, Nana's starting to do some things offensively, Nunn's starting to make some shots, Hill's coming along, some other guys have started to get more comfortable offensively as well. I certainly think that will help and assist Ray. But he's really battled, and, I'm proud of him, the way that he's handled himself. Ray's kind of a guy that, has a lot of pride in who he is and how he plays, and I think that's a big reason why he's, really talented and a very good player.
Insertion of the two freshmen in any way affected his game that you can see?
I'd say in a positive way, for sure. Yeah, they open up the floor a little bit more. Those guys have alleviated some of the stress on him to score. And certainly that's one of his gifts, and we need him to continue to be more efficient in that area, and I'm confident that he will. But I think those guys have helped. They've assisted.
When you look at Nebraska, Petaway is a guy that's really come along.
Yeah.
What's he done to that team and his the course of the
Marcus's questions related to Petaway. I think he's playing at as high a level as anyone in our league right now. He gives them a swagger and a confidence. Marcus, he obviously, a little bit like Ray Rice, made the absolute most out of his sit-out year. They've talked about him gaining 25 pounds. He plays with a lot of confidence. He makes big-time shots for them. He's really gifted offensively because he can score at all three levels of the court, whether that's long range, mid range, finish game. I think he competes. I love his competitive toughness. At least that's what I see on film. And he's certainly made his mark. I think he's a big part of what they do, and certainly one of the better players in our league.
I was going to ask you about Shields and the breakout game he had against you more than anybody. Any reason for that you can see why?
Fouling. Yeah, they've shot close to 30 free throw attempts a game in the 5-game win streak here. Close to 30. You put him on the line, and you put a guy that was going like he was going that night, Lauren, and you put a guy who's a gifted scorer. How do gifted scorers have big nights? Certainly not all the time, but I think most of the time those big nights happen when guys get to the free throw line. He went 15 for 15 that night. He made it happen. We got to do a better job there. And then once he was fouled, obviously you're not going to shoot much better than 15 for 15. So he made all of them, So I think that was, he had roughly 30 plus. That was half, the free throw line generated half of that production.
You mentioned a couple times that you guys aren't fouling hard enough, or you're allowing guys to get to the line. So have you kind of tried to address that in practice?
Oh, sure. You got to talk about playing hard without fouling. I think some of it's physical strength as we start to get stronger and more mature. Part of it is technique. We're working very hard every day to address both of those things. A lot of it starts with keeping the dribble in front. So, technique, getting stronger, having more of an awareness, moving your feet. And I think we've gotten better at that. And obviously that will be tested, by the way that they play tomorrow night to a large degree in that area.
John, just talk a little bit about the job that Tim Miles has done since coming to Nebraska. This is his second year.
Well, he's done a great job. I thought they played really hard last year, really competitive, physical. This year's team, obviously they're playing as good as they've played. Certainly I would think in the 2 years that he's been there right now. The transfers sitting out were a huge deal for him. Pitchford, makes 4 or 5 threes at Michigan State as their center. That had a big outcome, had a lot to do with that game, certainly on the offensive end when you got your center making 4 or 5 threes in a 60-point game, 60-51. He was sitting out last year. Petaway was sitting out last year. So I think those two guys' addition, and I like Leslie Smith too. I think he brings a toughness to their team. He plays with great energy and motor. He rebounds. He's physical. He's tough. He was a junior college transfer that they brought in. And then the guys that they had returning got better. I think Shields, Lauren was asking about Shields. I think he's improved a great deal. He's gotten stronger. I think their team plays to their strengths. Seem to understand that even more now maybe than they did before. Just watching from the outside, you'd certainly have to ask Tim, but those are the things I see, and they've certainly improved and gotten better.
It's kind of off topic, but a big topic in the sports world right now, Michael Sam, Jason Collins. Have you and your staff had to discuss or talk about it if you had? I guess?
No, we haven't, to be honest with you, Jeremy. We haven't. And maybe we should. And that's a great point, maybe that should be something. I don't know if you have to, but I always like to share things with the guys, whether that's, articles about all athletes, life stuff, and some of them are good articles I'll give them. A guy makes a good decision. This is a great story. Wow, it's impacted, his community or the world or his university. This is pretty neat, share that with them. Sometimes it's guys that make bad choices in certain areas, and I share that with them, and we talk about that. And, we always say all the time to our players that the greatest gift God gave us is the gift to choose, so we want to choose wisely and want to teach them the best we can. We're not with them 24/7, but we want to teach them life skills as well. I mean, we always are. We usually tackle whatever different issues that are going around in the sports world pretty much head on. It's always good. I think the guys enjoy that. That we talk about things that affect them as people. Not just players.
Do you think that would be? It hasn't seemed to be an issue, whether it was at
Yeah, no, it hasn't come up. Certainly, we're not an organization that dodges, issues. I mean, we like to talk about those things, like to get guys' input, and maybe I learned something from you today here at the press conference. Maybe that should be something we should, have discussion about. But it has not been something that's come up. Questions on the phone lines?
John, hey, it's Steve. A lot of guys were the guy in high school. Kendrick and, of course, Tate played with Jabari Parker. Does Kendrick have the potential to be a leading scorer someday, or the mentality at least to act like a top dog, to get after it on the offensive end to that degree?
Well, I certainly think Stevie has that capability. Certainly shown that already in a given game or games. I think a lot of it, Kendrick has had a year where he's really grown and improved a great deal, obviously. The step he makes between this time now and next year, a lot of it is we're going to give him every resource possible. We're going to work with him, and Kendrick's a guy that I think will welcome all that. And if he does, and he has a burning desire and a heart to be great, I think that he's going to continue to improve as he gets stronger and develops skill even more in his skill set, and has more, as my old high school coach used to say, more tricks in his bag. I think he can get even better. We're not going to put a limit on him, certainly. Do I think one of the areas that's strong for him is that he has an ability to score? Most certainly. I think he can score, and potentially, in a variety of ways, not just shooting jump shots. And I think that he wants to be as complete a player as he can be. So, he's not afraid to work. I think because of that, he's got a lot of potential and a high ceiling.
Sorry, that was my phone, by the way.
That's okay.
I'm thinking about Petaway and even Ray, and just wondering, if you think Nunn has that same kind of disposition or the potential for it.
Well, he has the disposition for sure. He has to continue to grow and get better to do that on a consistent basis, I think. He's done that here a lot for us recently, and we want him to continue to be aggressive. I do think he's wired to score and has a knack for getting shots up on the rim, and hopefully as he continues to improve his skill set and get stronger physically, that he can even enhance those qualities and that skill set that he already currently has. So again, I think it's still early, and that's what's exciting as you watch Kendrick and some of our other freshmen as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Joe Bertrand seems to have battled with confidence issues over the years. Is that what he's struggling through right now?
Well, I mean, he hasn't played up to his capability here recently. We know that, and he knows that. But Joe's the type of kid, that he could break out of that like snapping your fingers. I mean, that he has a great way about him. You watch him even when he didn't play as particularly well. here recently. He's cheering like crazy and encouraging guys. And, obviously Joe's a big part of our team. He has been for 2 years. And, that's also exciting because if we can get him playing to his capability here down the stretch, then we could take another jump.
Any final questions for Coach?
One guy that, as you've been looking for more scoring, more options to open things up for Ray, one guy who was the lead scorer for his high school team, which is probably true of all college
Most college players.
But we have not seen Mike LaTulip at all since,
Early on.
exhibition.
Yeah, part of it is just coach's decision. Obviously Mike's competitive and Mike's a good player. I've said that before. Right now he's playing 1 and 2, which is, Abrams and Tate a little bit, and then Nunn and Rice. So, it is what it is. I've said before, I wish you could play all, 11, 12, 13, 14 guys when they're eligible, and that's just not the way it works. But I appreciate the way Mike's handled himself. Mike, is a team guy. Mike works his tail off. I love having Mike LaTulip in our program.